for most of my friends know that I deal with psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis.
Recording in progress.
So the collagen has been a game changer for my skin. I take it twice a day. I take it with my coffee in the morning, and I'll take it in the afternoon with Sustain. And it has been a game changer for me. My skin is smoother in my scalp area. I use everything Mela, so everything is all non-toxic, and it's been amazing. In my skin area here, on my back, my knees, my scalp, no scaling. I just noticed a difference in my skin just from the collagen. So thank you, Frank.
That's incredible. Thank you, Troy. Thank you so much for sharing.
Troy, you absolutely need to share that on a testimonial, because I think that's something we probably all aren't aware of, that was going to help that.
Yeah, and I will. I'll drop it into all the product pages that we're in.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if our guest is here. He should be here.
So I can see you. Can you see me?
Oh, there he is. Yes, we see you.
Hi, Frank.
Right there on the bottom.
Hey,
It's good to.
Happy Father's Day.
thank you. Did you have a good Father's Day?
How could you not?
Well,
I want to ask you one question before we start.
okay.
Did you lose your drawer?
Did you see Belinda's response?
Yes.
No, I still got it. I'm hanging on for dear life, though.
Oh, that made me chuckle. Well, Frank, we are so excited. We've already got over 440 people on here tonight.
Wow.
A lot of great leaders. So we're just thrilled that you're willing to do this, and excited to hear what you have to say.
Well, thank you. So maybe I'll. So I wasn't sure exactly what you wanted to talk about, but I'll talk about what maybe I'm thinking. Maybe you want to talk about. I don't know. So maybe why don't you have a few questions for me? But first off, do you want me to start now, or are we doing something else first?
No, you're good. Go.
We're good to go. Well, these are great times. This is, this is a great time to be alive. Of all the times we could have lived on this earth, this just strikes me so often. What a great time to be alive, with all the conveniences that we have, and the technology that we have, and the potential lifespan that we have, and the world is in turmoil, but it's honestly, it's not in nearly as much turmoil as it was throughout history. You hear of wars and rumors of wars, but honestly, our country hasn't been in war for at least I haven't experienced war in my entire lifetime. And these are just a great time to be alive. And I want you to know I'm having a great life. I hope you are too. When we talk to people about our mission and tell them that our mission is to enhance the lives of those we touch by helping people reach their goals. I've told that message now in one country after another, and it doesn't really matter what country. The message, our mission is the same. But when I ask them, what are your goals? We want to help you reach your goals. Universally, people tell us, I want to have a good life. They might say it in a different way. They might say it in a different language, but they want to have a great life. And it strikes me often. This is it. This is our life. This is the only time we're going to be on this earth. Millions have come before us, and hopefully billions will come after us. But this is our time on earth. And so we're all about trying to make that the greatest time we could ever have, the greatest life we could ever have. And we want to help people. We want to help people have a great life, because that's really what they want. It really doesn't matter. When it boils down to it, they just want to have a great life. And it has to do with, things that we can help them with: good health, resources. People, we don't let people forget it's, a part of a good life is to have great relationships. And while we're striving to get more resources, we shouldn't forget that more important than resources is relationships. There are other things that are important, like liking ourselves, which means we have to live within the bounds that we know to be right and wrong. If we don't live within the bounds, we all have a vision, and it doesn't matter what country, they're all pretty much the same. The values that we espouse, the values that we all know and believe in, that are important to have in regards to character and ethics. If we don't live within those bounds, we won't like ourselves. And we'll end up striving for something else that doesn't give us great. We can have all the resources in the world. If we don't like ourselves, we don't like how we got there, we don't like how we did it because we cheated somehow, we're not going to have a great life. And we won't be able to run from ourselves. So we teach those principles. And every culture so far, I haven't been in every country in the world, but I've been to a lot of them. And I've told this message in over 20 different countries to thousands of people now. And I asked them, what would make a great life, do you think? And they go through it. And I asked them, what are the values that you believe are right and wrong? And it's pretty much, values like honesty, integrity, loyalty, and other things like forgiveness, hard work, those kind of things. So at Melaleuca, we believe in those things because those are the kinds of things that will give us a great life. We've done some things recently, and I think having fun, having experience, if we're going to have great relationships, and we think of relationships, we think of our spouse, our children, our parents, and our friends. If we spend all of our time going after resources, then we'll miss the boat. So we got to put it all in balance. But when it comes to resources, and that's kind of what, that's one of the things we're known for, providing people that haven't had hope, people that weren't born into wealth, which is most of us. We provide them a chance to get ahead in life. And we don't make that dependent on somebody else's decisions. We make it dependent on their own actions. So in corporate America, somebody else makes the decision normally. Unless we own the business, then we can make the decision. And of course, with Melaleuca, I make a lot of those decisions myself, but I still have to get myself out of bed in the morning and get into work and be productive. So even if you're the boss of the own company, you got to still be the boss of yourself. So we all have a boss. Sometimes it's ourselves, and in this case, we want it to be ourselves most of the time. And if you work in corporate America, we're advocates of people being great employees. We're advocates of people being the best employees that they could be.
We didn't do that.
I'm losing you now. Are you still there?
Yeah, we're here. I don't know what happened on technology.
Okay. Can you still see me?
Yes.
All right. I'll
There you
keep
go.
going then. I had my screen go blank. I thought maybe I lost you. But when we seek things that would give us a great life, we've got to keep in balance all of the things that are important, not just go after more resources. And we ought to remember that when we're talking to people involved with Melaleuca, that we should encourage them to keep those things in balance, like relationships. Now, one of the things we believe in is having fun. And So for me, work has been always fun. I grew up, my parents believed in hard work. You know, I took over the responsibility of our little 80-acre farm when I was 12 years old because my dad worked on the railroad, and I've always enjoyed it. I've never seen work as being drudgery. I've never seen work as being even hard work. I worked on the steel gang in the railroad for a summer. That was hard, hot labor, and rough people, tough people. On the steel gang, we're laying quarter-mile rail, and I thought every minute of it was fun. And so we're advocates of hard work, but we try to add some other elements, like this contest to Hawaii, the Kauai property that Belinda and I have. So I don't know. I hope you guys are striving for that, because that's going to be a fun deal and worth every single second. This cruise we're going on, that's going to be a fun deal. We like having fun, and during what makes those events so meaningful is it builds relationship. We can make friends and interact and get to know people and add meaning to our life. So I hope that all of you are participating in that and sense that that's what we want to provide for you. I want to talk a little bit about that beef program, the beef Riverbend Ranch Black Label Beef, and that's been a real joy for me and my family to see that come to fruition after 27 years of first going out and choosing the genetics and carefully choosing every cow that we brought on the ranch and raising calves and choosing, different matings to try to create a better animal, better mothers, more tasty beef is what we're known around. So Riverbend Ranch is considered to be one of the top 3 ranches in the nation for quality meat. There aren't very many. There are a lot of ranches went down the road of, and still today, they just want to raise pounds. And if you talk to these folks who are of the, I'll say the old school, they'll say, I just want the one that grows the fastest. That's what I want. Because we sell them by the pound. But in today's world of beef, they sell them all by the pound, all right. Meat's bought, cattle are bought by the pound. But the feedlot makes its money based on how those cattle grade. So the feedlot sells its cattle into the marketplace, and they get paid then after the cattle are processed, and they get paid a different amount per pound based on the quality of the meat. And of course, this all has to do with marbling. There's no premium for tenderness today. We focus on tenderness too, but there's no actual market premium because they don't test the meat for tenderness. We know what it takes to get good tender meat, there's tenderness genes that we watch in the genetics, but we believe that we're in a position to provide America, this nation, that's all only place we're selling. We've tried to get it into Canada. Canada, we're all set up to do it. Then Canada changed the rules at the very last minute. So we're telling our members in Canada they got to wait till those doors open. It might be several months before that happens. But so we're just selling right now beef in America, but we think that we have the best, absolute best beef in all of America. We don't know, we haven't seen anything more. If you're going to provide a program for beef, you got to provide thousands of head of cattle with that quality. And we've gone out in preparation for this for the last 27 years and picked out certain cows. One cow here and one cow there. Maybe we might buy, 8 to 15 head a year that had to meet certain qualifications that would be the best beef. We've been doing this now for 27 years, and bring those cattle back and create baby calves that have that, and then those babies have babies, and those babies have babies. And so you say, now we've got this special beef, and they're all Angus. Angus is known for having better quality, better tasting beef, but we've taken the very top edge of the Angus breed, and now we're forming, it's still Angus, but we could practically call it a whole new breed because it's a whole different level of beef quality, flavor, tenderness, juiciness, to give the consumer a whole different eating experience than what they've ever had. You know, buying beef at the grocery store has nothing, it's not even close to what you get at the grocery store. You might get this kind of beef at a few select top of the line restaurants in the country. I won't say that it has never been produced before, but it's never been produced and made available to the average consumer before. And so we feel really excited about where we are. And now we've made the first shipments. We had we signed up over 20,000 customers. We signed about 24,000 customers in the first 8 weeks. Wow. And it was like our processing folks said, "Holy, we did it. We better slow this down, because if this keeps going like this, we're going to get behind, and you got to be ahead of ways." So we aged the beef 21 days, so that we slowed down our marketing a little bit to let them get caught up, and they're caught up now, and there's still a little nip and tuck, but you'll see us start to market again in a couple of weeks, and you'll see us start making tools available to you that you can send to people to basically educate them on what we have here. We don't expect people to go out and make a presentation on beef specifically, but we expect them to be able to give somebody a site to watch and look. We're going to have different rules also with our beef marketing program. We've really been protective of the name Melaleuca. We didn't want to burn the fields, as it were, and get Melaleuca strewn all over and with different folks. And we were concerned mostly. We've let people talk pretty much about product, but we don't let them follow up and say, "And let me tell you more, so I can hook you up to my money-making program," and we don't want to be thrown in that bucket. So we've been really protective of how people use social media to get the word out about Melaleuca. We don't allow a couple things. We don't allow you to use the word Melaleuca on any of your social media posts. We'll let you talk about product, because that's what we want to be known for. We don't want to be known for that money deal. That money, that's one of them. It's really hard to escape. Once you get painted with that and thrown in that bucket, it's really hard to climb out of it. And we don't want that, because that bucket has a bad odor to it. It doesn't, those folks don't have a good reputation. They got a bad reputation, and they deserve it. They've hurt a lot of people's lives touting their get rich quick schemes. And if you just buy more stuff, you'll make more money. Just buy a bigger inventory. Buy yourself, you need this much at the end of the month? I'm $2,000 short. Well, I'll just write a check and get my $2,000 in there. And then I'll be at the new level or where I needed to be, so I get the commissions. Any program like that's the MLM deals. And any program like that is not a real deal. There's people buying to qualify, And if you know, we don't let your purchase, you go out and buy $10,000, it's not going to help you any on your bonus. And so we have those rules so that we don't become a money deal. We have this great deal where people can choose themselves. I was starting to talk about that model where people can promote themselves, because in corporate America, and we want people to be the best employee they could be for their employers. It's noble. I cringe when people say, "Well, I'm going to go full-time Melaleuca," and we say, Don't tell people to do that. Don't use your Melaleuca income to supplement your other income and add them together. Then you'll have something. But don't quit your job to go work Melaleuca, because it might take you a long time to replace the income of a full-time job. It takes time to build a Melaleuca business. But take your Melaleuca business and that income and add it on to your full-time job. Now you'll have something. And that's what we intend to do. And in the doing of that, you can choose your own. You don't have to wait. I know in your corporate job, even though we advocate that's what you should keep, somebody else is probably responsible for deciding how much you make. And somebody else might be responsible for deciding whether you get the promotion. So somebody else makes the decision. I've been in that kind of a job. I was a vice president for 2 different Fortune 500 companies. It was always tough when you had a vacancy, and you have a vice president position, and you're going to fill that position, or a director position, or a manager position. You're going to fill that you say, okay, I got 17 people that are applying for that position. I hope I choose the right one. And you do the interviews, and you see their track record, and you make a choice, and you just say, I hope you do a good job, because and then you know that their life's going to change. They're going to make more money, maybe get a bigger home, maybe drive a nicer car, maybe that big screen TV. Their kids will get a better education because they got the promotion. But you had to tell 15 people that they weren't going to get it. And they have to sit there and wait till they're chosen. And many of them never will be chosen. So with Melaleuca's model, people can choose themselves. You have to wait to be chosen. You go to work. You can go to work and choose yourself, give yourself a promotion. Go to work and make it happen. Take charge of your life. You have to wait keep that other job, but you don't have to wait for them to discover you. You can go out and discover yourself and build a Melaleuca business. Then maybe when you're making, my counsel is if you're making 3 times what you are on your current job, then maybe you could consider going full-time Melaleuca. But until then, keep them both, add them together, and have fun building your Melaleuca business. So back to the beef thing for a second. Here we are. We've got the best beef, and I was talking about the kind of the guidelines, the guardrails we put around social media. Those guardrails, when it comes to Riverbend Ranch Black Label beef, won't be as tight. We're going to let people go out and get on social media and go viral with Riverbend Ranch Black Label, and tell about it. Show people eating beef, showing the barbecue, tell the stories. Just tell the stories. Now, we're not going to tout a business opportunity with Riverbend Ranch beef, and we're not going to have people do calls of action like, call me and I'll tell you how. No, there'll be a natural. If people call you, they'll call you if they're interested. It's that, call me and let me show you how. Make $10,000. Call me and I'll show you how. That's the stuff that throws us in that other bucket. And we don't want to go there. But you can talk about good beef all day long and people be interested. And they cannot build a business just selling beef. They've got to be a Melaleuca marketing executive. And so we've structured this so you don't drop your Melaleuca business. Often people will find a new toy and they'll forget the old toy. And they drop this toy, go play with that toy. Well, you haven't added anything then. And the margins on Riverbend Ranch beef are significant enough to add to your Melaleuca business. But they wouldn't, it's a commodity. The margins aren't there nearly to the degree that they are in the rest of our product line. And that's why we did a business on top of a business. So it's an add-on. So we don't take away from this business and go play with this business. We add this to this. And that's working for people. People are excited about that. And most rewarding is the reports that are coming in. We've only been shipping beef now for about 6 weeks. So most people have only got one shipment, and maybe there's the second shipment I know just went out. So maybe there's a few folks that got the second, but the reviews have been exceptional. And I was just like waiting to see what people thought once they tasted it. And I've been really, really rewarded with one story after another. So we've got a good thing going here. And it's also going to pull us another step further away from that multi-level marketing label that people tend to want to place on us, that we've worked so hard to stay away from, because that's a dead end story. That if you get painted with an MLM label, it limits our market dramatically. So we want to stay away from that. But beef will help us. Beef will help us stay away from that. No MLM could ever carry beef. You'd have to, if you were doing that, you'd have to charge so much for your beef. And guess what? We're marketing for our members. We're doing it real close to our cost. We don't want to be in the red. We don't want to lose money, but we're right at what it costs us at those prices. And now we've said, okay, and we've said originally you have to be a Melaleuca member, but now we're saying you don't have to be a member, but it's going to cost you $52 a month more, and we'll still be under ButcherBox. ButcherBox did $600 million worth of sales on a product that isn't anywhere close to our product, not even close. Most of it comes from Australia. It's grass-fed. They make a big deal out of grass-fed, but I could tell you all day long about, if you've had grass-fed beef, it's not that great. It doesn't taste the same as a well-marbled steak. It has a whole different flavor to it. And so the whole grass-fed deal is a big gimmick. Now so we had a grass-fed program. Our feedlots, we have a feedlot that we finish cattle, and we had we qualified and all went through all the steps to qualify for being grass-fed, until we learned it was all bogus. Because they'll allow you to feed molasses, fructose corn syrup. You just can't feed grain in its finished state. You can't feed a kernel of grain, but you could feed it before it gets to the kernel. It's the same thing. It's just got more moisture in it. Just hasn't dried into a kernel yet. So it's all bogus. It's all baloney. It's the same carbohydrates you're feeding them. And you got to feed them some carbohydrates or they won't finish and they won't have marbling. So it's a big false baloney story. People think that grass-fed means they're out on pasture eating grass. Well, if that's grass-fed, you're not going to want to eat it. It's not going to have marbling, and it's not going to have. You tie it once, and then you'll be done. That'll be it. It's over. If you've tried some of those grass-fed programs from a real ranch that really is grass-fed out in a pasture, you're very unlikely to go buy another one. That's you buy one, you're all excited about it till you take it home, and it just stays in the freezer, never gets eaten. When you talk about ButcherBox, that's the kind of meat that they have, but they allow that the conditioning on the cattle with those bogus stories, so they can say it's grass-fed, but it has no health benefit. They try to make it sound like there's some health benefit, but there's not. And it's funny what people believe when they get stories on the internet. So back to the internet, we're going to allow people to talk about our story. We're going to let people talk about Riverbend Ranch Black Label beef, and we're going to be not as nearly as tight about it. We're not going to let you do a call to action, and we're not going to let you mention the word Melaleuca, but we're going to let you tell the story, and we're going to furnish you with a lot better tools than we have today to help tell that story. Now, I've probably taken more of my time than I've probably taken way over my allotted time. So I'll shut up. If you want to ask me some questions, feel free.
2 questions, Frank.
That's so exciting, first of all.
And one, I just want to tell you, we've gotten 3 shipments of the Riverbend.
You got 3 already.
Yes.
I'll be dang.
and it's incredible. But one thing that I want to, we figured out based on our commissions from last month, we've added over $2,000 to our income for
Wow, that's great.
for the year.
That's
If we take the average,
That's awesome.
can you explain the difference of how ours is fed compared to grass fed? Just so a lot of people are asking questions.
Okay. So, all right. So I started to answer that, and I'll go in a little deeper. So people I ask us, is ours grass finished or grain finished? And neither would be the case, because both are, in our opinion, are extreme. So the whole concept of grass finished is bogus, false. I could be so bold as to say it's an absolute lie. They're not out on grass finishing. Now, some ranches have that. You can go to a small local rancher and get grass finished really on grass. So they're not eating grass, and you just take them in, take them over, and in these small farms, you got to be careful with the false farm. But who processed them for you? What were the conditions? Was it USDA inspected, or they just took it out back and strung her up and processed her right there? Do you want that? Probably not. I mean, if you got to be careful. If it's one of those little mobile units, they got mobile units now that they'll just go out and bring their little mobile trailer out, and they'll process your cow for you. I wouldn't eat beef from that deal. So when I'll do a side note there. So if you were to visit our plant, you would find that we sterilize once you get the hide off, and I might be getting too much detail for you, but once you get the hide off, we sterilize the whole animal. Well, you can't do that on those little ranches. But let's say you bought something from a ranch, and let's say you weren't too worried about who cut it up and what happened to it before it got in the package. You didn't want to see that, and you don't want to know. And if I were, I would want to know, but let's say you didn't. But what did you get? Let's say it was just out eating grass. You are not going to like the flavor of that meat. Not a bit. So when they came up with this idea, let's add value. This is the group of folks got together, and they let's add value. Well, what could we do? What could we do? Because it's a commodity, for peace sake. What could we do? And we could. What if we just said grass fed? Because maybe we could make that sound more nutritious, and so they came up with this story. You know what? Don't feed it carbs. And so they tried that for a little while. Nobody wanted that meat. It's like selling a snowball to an Eskimo. You get somebody to buy it, you tell a pretty neat story till he finds out that that's not what he wanted. And then they don't buy anymore. So they said, okay, shucks, they're not going to like it if it's just like grown on grass, because it won't have the marbling in it. So what will we do now? Well, let's feed it some stuff that isn't. We don't want to say grain, because that's no, we don't want to say grain. So what should we feed it? Well, let's feed it corn syrup. Okay, that's not grain. Let's feed it molasses. We got to do something to put some marbling in it. So you need what you call energy feeds. Energy feeds is carbs, really. You got to give it some carbs. If you don't give it carbs, you're not going to like the meat. That's pure and simple. So they concocted, and we put it on our website somewhere about grass-fed. You could go there and you can see the whole list of all the approved things that you can feed and call it grass-fed. And it is a bunch of malarkey. You can feed it oats as long as it wasn't in the final kernel stage. You could feed it corn as long as it wasn't in the final kernel stage. You can feed it barley as long as it wasn't in the final. What difference does that make to the cow? It just makes it a lot more expensive to finish. And you get the same quality of beef. You can create it. It just costs you a whole lot more to do it. And it doesn't make any sense at all. Still carbs, You get this, you couldn't, once you process the meat, you couldn't get any chemical analysis that's any different. But you can call it grass-fed because you didn't really feed it any grain. That's what it means. So then that's one side of the spectrum. We think that's bogus. It's lying to people. It's telling people, making people believe something that's absolutely not true about what you did. So there's two kinds of grass-fed. There's the real grass-fed out in the field that you aren't going to like. But if they've created a product that is going to be acceptable to you from flavor, then they'll have fed it all this other stuff that you might as well fed it some grain. So that's bogus. Now you talk about, or is it grain finished? We think that's extreme too. Because what you really want to do is you want to feed them really what they want. It's interesting how they will go to what's the healthiest. They don't want all grain. They want hay. They want grass. So if you're finishing them, you probably don't have them out in a grass field. You could, but then you want to add. So it's a balanced diet of various foods, but it would have some hay, some grass hay, some alfalfa, and some grains. More like what a healthy, balanced diet would look like for a human being. But it's going to have some carbohydrates in it, regardless if it's called grass-fed or not, or you're not going to like it. It's not going to marble. So that's a long answer to a pretty short question, but that's the facts behind it. I guess you'll have to tell me whether I answered your question or not.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Anthony Cook, I know you're out there. You want to hop on?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
Hey, Anthony.
Hi, guys. Hi, Frank. Hey, Frank, just to shift gears a little bit, thank you so much for the explanations on the beef. I've learned more about beef in the last 6 to 7 months than I've ever known about beef in my life. And I want to thank you so much for educating us, on that endeavor. I know it's been decades in the making and we really appreciate it. I'd like to just ask you a question regarding inflation and,
that owns the company.
which I know this is right up your wheelhouse as far as the economy and Melaleuca and how we're doing in reference to our competitors like Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, and, where do you see that going here in the years, forward here?
Well, that's, there are a lot of experts that weigh in on that question, and you'll remember in the beginning, the government was telling us, oh, this is just transitory. We did that little video clip where we had all these television pundits saying, oh, it's transitory. It was a new word, actually. I never heard the word transitory before, neither I bet you had either. But it was a new word. We had to learn, what does that mean? It really means temporary. It's just temporary. Don't worry about it. It's just temporary. The reason they were telling us that garbage is because they didn't want people to panic, and they didn't want to have us be critical of their monetary policy. But what they went out and they did, and I want to say both sides of the aisle did this. Both sides, the Republicans and the Democrats are guilty. And they thought that COVID was going to send us into this downward spiral. They closed down businesses. They closed down the marketplace. We had all kinds and still are suffering from supply chain issues. They don't understand. Some of them do, but most of them don't understand that it's taken years to create this phenomenal system of just in time. Just everything comes in at times. Car dealers are making automobiles, and everything they're going to make a car, and they got and Melaleuca's making Melapower, or we're making Sabella, whatever this product, and where all the ingredients are going to come from. And some of these ingredients have to be mined. If it's metal, it has to be mined. It has to be processed. It has to be smelted down, and then it has to be melted, and you got to create a part for the car. And there's 4 or 5 different business models. There's the miner, there's the folks, the steel outfits, then there's the transportation. That all has to happen right in sync. And all of these businesses, this is how a free enterprise works. They all make the deal. You're going to give me this date. You're going to give me this date. And then that entrepreneur, that business has to go out and make sure that he delivers on time. Because if he doesn't deliver on time at a good price, then he loses the customers. All of those things are fine-tuned in every single industry. It all's working. It's all working. It's all working. Until somebody says, guess what? We're not going to let you have this, and we're not going to let you ship this, and we're going to make you close down. And holy smokes. And so they were worried that we're going to close down all of these different businesses and say, you can't go to work, you can't go into public rest. We're going to close the restaurants. We're going to, and so they were worried that they knew that was going to hurt the economy. What they didn't understand is the supply chain, but they knew that was going to hurt the economy. So they said, let's add all of these incentives. We're going to, people stop going, and then people stop going to work. Well, we're going to give all this money out. And I'll bet a lot of people on this phone call got some kind of on this Zoom call, we got some kind of a check from the government. And so a lot of people got big checks from the government. A lot of people, like truck drivers, said, well, that's pretty nice. I don't have to drive truck anymore. And that hurt our supply chains even worse. We have a trucking company here in town, and I was talking to the owner. And, they used to pay truck drivers $45,000, $50,000 a year to drive truck. But it's painful. You're away from your family. Now they call these truck drivers up and say, we need you. We have stuff to ship. Everything was backing up at the ports, and all these ships were lined up, over 100 big container ships. There were no trucks. There were no trucks to haul them because all the truck drivers were home. And they were saying, you know what? I don't think I'm going to drive truck because I'm getting enough. The government gave me enough. I don't need to drive truck. And so they said, well, we'll pay you more. We'll pay you $60,000 a year, $80,000 a year, $90,000 a year, $110,000 just to drive the truck. That's twice what you were making. And the answer was, in this particular owner of a trucking company told me this story. He said, they say, you couldn't pay me enough. That's more than I'm getting from the government, but I got to go out on the road. The argument for that's socialism, by the way. You just give people this money to stay home. And people were arguing, well, if you just pay them enough, they'd get out. No, they won't. Because they're saying, between me and my girlfriend, she gets some kid, she's got some kids, and I got a couple kids, and we're getting all this stuff coming in. We're not making as much as you're offering us, but we're making enough to get by. We make the house payment. I got my beer. I got my big screen TV, got my pretzels and my pizza and my video games. Why in the world would I go drive truck? You can't pay me enough to go drive truck, because I got a good life, just what I'm getting here. And then those subsidies went away, and now you're seeing supply chains. I mean, the people ran out of money and they got to go back to work no matter what. But all of that screwed us up. And so to get people to come back to work, these companies just kept raising, we'll pay you this. No, they still won't come. We'll pay you this. Now we'll pay you this. And so all of that's created inflation, which, by the way, when you go print money like the government printed, it's going to cause inflation. Now, you can't create the kind of money out there in the marketplace. That money's got to go somewhere. And there's still the same amount of goods being bought. We don't have more goods being bought. Still the same number of cars on the road, pretty much. Same number of trucks necessary to move goods. Same number of homes necessary to live in. But you just got a lot more money circulating out there, and people got more money, so they're willing to spend more. So now what are they doing? They're raising interest rates, so everything will cost us more, so that they can slow down inflation. It's a wild cycle. So I guess what you're asking, Anthony, is where's all this going to go? We said, when Janet Yellen was saying it's transitory, we were saying it's not transitory, folks. It's here to stay for a long time. And what they're trying to do now is raise interest rates enough So it slows down the rate of inflation, but doesn't cause a recession. Who knows? Can you really ride the brake and the gas at the same time? We don't know. We've never been here before. It is interesting that they've jacked interest rates now up quite a bit, and inflation is starting to slow, but inflation is still really high. They want to get it down to 2%. I think we're a long ways away. I think if you want to talk about housing, because they've raised interest rates, the price of housing has come down, but the cost has stayed the same. Because now you're just paying interest rather than principal on your home. So the consumer, the price of homes is going to go down even further than it is today. Home prices started to drop here a few months ago. You're going to see that continue. That's going to scare people because they're going to have paid more for a house than it's worth today. We saw that happen back in 2008, and we saw people panic when that happened. They hope they can cool it down without causing, a total collapse of the economy. And I'm going to guess that they will. I'm guessing we're not going to have a disaster as far as recession goes. We're seeing supply chains loosening up now. Prices, so inflation is still going to be bad for the foreseeable future. I'm not sure what bad means. Does that mean 6% a year? Does it mean 5? Does it mean 4? I don't know, but I'm guessing. I'm not astute enough. No one is to really predict. But I think inflation is going to be around for quite a while. We're not going to get back to 2% for a long time. If we do that, if we get back to 2% for 1 month, I'm going to suggest that'll be transitory.
You want anything?
That was just excellent. Just taking notes. Okay.
Well, Frank, we truly appreciate. We had over 750 people on here tonight.
Wow.
Just, you talk about how Melaleuca changes your lives, and just as a dad, the privileges Melaleuca has given me, being able to spend time with our kids and do things that I wouldn't have been able to do because of my quote unquote job in the past. Melaleuca has bridged that gap and made so many things possible. It's incredible. And I know everybody here is grateful for your time, your insights, and all the comments are just incredible.
Before you hang up, Tony, let me just give
ahead.
a shout out to Tony and Sarah. We did it with this Hurricane Ian that came through, and I'm not sure how many months ago it was. I don't think it was a whole year ago. I don't remember what the date was, but how long ago was that, Tony?
David. Wash.
I think somebody will challenge him. It very well could be Gavin Newsom.
It was back in October.
Okay. Well, so when we did that, Melaleuca is known for being the first on the scene. And we know if it's a hurricane, they need a few things. They need generators. They need Solumel because they're going to have mold. If it's in hurricanes usually are in hot, humid areas. They're going to have lots of mold. They're going to need sanitation, and they're going to need water, and they're going to need food because their power's out. So we had a plane load of generators, and we just made phone calls. Who can help us deliver them? Tony and Sarah were one of the first ones to raise their hands, and it turned into quite an adventure, didn't it, Tony?
It was an incredible experience.
And that's Melaleuca. They're great examples of the spirit of Melaleuca. That's what we want to do. We want to enhance people's lives. Anybody whose life we touch, we want to be there. People need us. We want to be there. And we can only be there if we've got an army like you guys, like all of you, that make that work unselfishly, just reaching out to people and helping other people reach their goals. It's a wonderful thing to be a part. I'm so proud to be a part of it, and so proud to have you all be a part of us. So thank you for that. It's wonderful.
Frank, thank you. Can I ask you one last question? I've seen a few tidbits here in the news lately that UPS might go on strike. Any insights on that?
We, of course, we're very much on top of that. We don't have much control over that. But what we're being told, and I can't vouch that this is the case because I don't. This is not knowledge or insights that I personally have, but I can tell you what I've been told by people who do have that kind of insights. That they've known this is coming for a long time. The union is going to make certain demands. The company is going to want to keep those demands. There are, fortunately, there are pressures on UPS to comply with some of those demands. We have other methods lined up. I'll just tell you this brief story. We've got Amazon came to town for the very first time. They built a warehouse here. In fact, I sold them the property to build the warehouse on. In fact, we built the warehouse for them. But because they're coming, whether they had our help or not, and we learned a whole lot in that process as we've seen them operate. It's really been interesting because what comes into town on Amazon comes in on mostly on Amazon trucks. But when it goes out to be distributed, it's all of these small contractors for hire. And that's overtaking, and that is really, really good news for us. It's overtaking the entire distribution industry and is really threatening UPS. So you get all of these other, if I'm talking about the last mile. It's pretty easy to get it from one location to another. It's that last mile. It's just that, delivering it to the house. That's the piece that keeps all these other businesses out. But guess what? All of these private contractors are stepping forward. So I'm talking about individuals that say, I'll drive a truck. It'll be my own truck. And you won't have to buy the truck. I'll buy the truck. It'll be a little van. It might have a little cooler in it if it's perishable. And I'll take it that last mile. It's really not the last mile. It might be the last 15 miles. But you give me the route. You give me the printout. You fill my little van up, and I will deliver those packages. And you give me the little iPad, the little electronic device, and I'll record exactly when I delivered it. And you can tell your customer that it's now been delivered. Now I take a responsibility. If I screw up, you're gonna sue me and you're gonna fire me, and I will not get to do this again. But believe me, I'm going to take care of you. So they do their reference checks, and all of these individual contractors go out then and deliver the last mile. Well, now those contractors are now available to us. And if UPS shuts down, UPS knows they're going to lose a lot of customers. So UPS, the management at UPS is got a huge motivation to settle this deal. And from the union side, they don't want to lose all these customers either. They got to be thinking, I mean, they're the union, so they want to get the most they can get paid for their people. And those union bosses, they want to look good. So they want to be able to say, look, we got you this, and we got you this, and we got you this. So keep us around because you need us to negotiate on your behalf. So they're going to threaten the strike. And they could go on strike. But boy, the union and management are both going to be very much motivated to get that deal resolved, because if they don't resolve it and they go on strike, they're going to lose a lot of customers, and that won't be good for the union or for the company. There's this also thing that they've got, so the union stores up money so that if they go on strike, they can pay the employee, right? But I don't know, it won't last very long. I was told the number and I don't recall exactly how many days it will be before the union runs out of cash, and they don't want to go use all of that up. So can I tell you, they're not going to go on strike. If they did go on strike, we've got some other alternatives. It'll be rocky for us. It'll be tough. It's not like, and it would screw us up on the meat side, on the beef side, more than on the Melaleuca side. But we're very optimistic that the strike is not going to happen. It could, if pride takes over and lack of wisdom. But if they do strike, both the union and management, UPS is going to be hurt enormously, because that gives the inroads on these private contractors, and that's what neither UPS nor the unions want that. So time will tell, but we're highly optimistic that they're not going to go on strike. There's lots of motivations that to deter them from that.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Frank, happy Father's Day. Genuinely appreciate everything you do, and just the leading example that you show us all in all aspects of life. And good luck with your drawer.
So far, I'm hanging on to it. I think it's looking pretty positive. I'm going to keep at least a corner of it. Thank you, guys.
Have Belinda hello, and thank you.
Thank you. I will.
Thank you.
Bye now. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. I mean, that's
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frank.
Bye now.
Thank you,
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Thank you.
Everybody have a good day.
Thank you. That
Thank
was
you,
great.
Frank.
Thank you,
Hi,
Frank.
guys. Have a great evening.
It's incredible.
You
Thank
too.
you. Have a great evening.
Bye.